How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at Scrub Games, and for this one we're jumping in with the next lot of reveals for the Star Wars card game, and this is for set 4 Jump to Lightspeed, so the next set coming out next year, early, I think around February, March. And if you're interested in kind of seeing what we're like, the first look at what we're going to get from the star deck for that set, and also some from the actual set itself, then make sure to stay tuned. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to keep updated with my channel. And also do remember that you can click on the notification bell to get alerts for when my videos do drop, so that you can watch them there and then or a later date that suits you best. So with that all out of the way, let's have a look and see what new cards we're going to get and new mechanics for set 4 Jump to Lightspeed. So starting off with the first of 2 starter decks, that's right, 2, because FFG and Star Wars Unlimited are no longer doing for the foreseeable future for sets a 2-player starter deck. So as of set 4, they're going to be doing spotlight decks, which kind of spotlight the characters in them. And for the dark side one, we've got Boba Fett as leader. So that's right, a third Boba Fett leader, but then that's not too bad considering like if you've seen like Dragon Ball, you've probably seen with Fusion World they've got I think 5. I think it might be 5 Goku decks in the same color, being red. So out of the very few leaders they've got 5 Gokus, so 3 Bobas is not too bad, especially since he's at least in different aspects. As we had him in cunning, we have him in command, and now we've got him in aggression. And he also features the new mechanic and new kind of deploy as well, being deploying as an upgrade, because there's a new trait being pilots, so pilots are being introduced in this set. And also the new kind of deploy being an option, because before with the deploy it was just literally when you get your resources to a certain amount, so in this case for Boba it's 6, then you get to deploy the leader in the ground arena, and basically then it comes down with stats, and that's it. But with this one, with this new deploy in the new set, you've got the option to do 2 different ones. So when you get to a certain amount of resources, in this case 6 for Boba, then you can deploy him as well, you can just either deploy him, so deploy him in the ground arena, comes down as a vanilla because he's got no skill on his like just deploy leader side, and he's just a 4/7, so same stats as set 1/1, just comes down a turn later, which is cool. Or you can use the other option, which is deploy this leader as an upgrade on a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. So it's a new kind of mechanic, deploying units as pilots onto vehicles, which is really cool. It's a nice kind of thing. And also remember, you can get vehicles in both the ground and space arenas, so you can have an EVA arena. And when you do deploy him as an upgrade like this, you instead of coming down as a 4/7, you deploy him as an upgrade, giving that unit, vehicle unit, a plus 4/4 to the stats, which is cool. So extra 4 power and 4 health. And when he's deployed as when he's deployed as an upgrade, that unit now becomes a leader unit. So he's equipped to the unit and now it's a leader unit, that's counted as. And when he's deployed by deployed as an upgrade, he also gets effect where he doesn't when he's deployed normally. Now the effect of Boba Fett when he's in the leader area is when you deal non-combat damage, so damage not done by attacking, then you can exhaust this leader, and if you do, deal 1 indirect damage to a player, and that player assigns 1 unpreventable damage among their base and units. So it's another new mechanic in the set, which is indirect damage. And this is damage that cannot be prevented. I think they did say during the stream that was if a unit's got a shield in it, you do the damage to it, it will bypass the shield and still go onto it, so even shields won't protect it from the indirect damage. But because the shield didn't prevent the damage, you wouldn't use the shield on the unit, so you can do the indirect damage to a unit, and if it survives, it's still there, but then it still has the shield as well. So it's really interesting, but the difference between this damage to like normal damage is your opponent gets to choose where to direct it, so they can prevent like a unit being taken out with this by choosing their base instead, which is pretty nice. And when he's deployed, he's got a mini barrage in terms of effects. When he's deployed as an upgrade, you can deal up to 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of units, which is really cool. So a really nice look, and it's nice to see like the new mechanic being alternative kinds of deploy either as a leader or as an upgrade on a space unit, like basically jumping in a ship or jumping in a vehicle, and also the pilot skill, and also there's a pilot skill as well to see. So like I said, when he's deployed, he comes down as a mini barrage, because like if you've ever seen it, if you've played the game, then Overwhelming Barrage, one of the best cards in the game, has been very, very, very well used, and it's one that basically allows you to give a buff to a unit and then deal damage equal to the unit's power that you boosted up among every unit's that you choose. And that effect is pretty similar to Boba's effects, but then instead of you give a boost to a unit, but then you get to deal a specific amount of damage. So there are differences, like small differences, but it's relatively the same. Whereas Boba can only do 4 damage, over one barrage can do either less, the same, or more, depending on what it's used on. But it's cool because it's like a 3/1 barrage. You can just Boba, jump on a space unit, and deal 4 damage, let you take something out. And if you're doing that indirect damage, you can then go ahead and do a bit more as well, which is pretty cool. Also, do remember that he's still Boba Fett as well, and we've still got Boba Fett's armor. So if you do play him in Cunning, you get access to some of the nice Boba tools that the other Boba had, and we've already seen that with the Darkseid, yellow and red are doing pretty well together. If you've seen like Jango Fett, and you still got all the good stuff that's exclusive to Boba Fett, like Boba Fett's armor here, where you can put on Boba, and then make him up from a 4/7 to a 6/9 that takes 2 less damage every time you go take damage. So it's still pretty good for that effect. Also, you got some more cards as well. So we got some exclusives as well. So I think they said in each of the star decks there are 5 exclusive cards, including leader. And I don't know if they include towards the 5, 2 of them being both sides of the leader, or because I'm thinking the other ones we've had before, we've had 4 exclusive ones, but so far we've only been shown 3 of them, and these are the 3 out of the 4 outside the leader you get in the dark side one. So you get a Bosk unit, which is pretty cool. So Bosk unit also showcasing the other new skill that's not indirect damage and a different deploy in piloting. So piloting is similar to a smuggle in terms that you play out alternative costs and actual primitive costs of the card to then attach it to a vehicle unit as a upgrade. And you can see you got different stats where you got the top stats next to the picture, which are the stats where if he's deployed as a unit, as a ground unit. But then if you use piloting to equip it as an upgrade to a vehicle unit, you got the bottom stats, which he gives us an increased stats to that vehicle unit. You also got Fett's Fire Spray as well, so another Fett's Fire Spray, which is nice, and this one's just a pure dark one, and a pretty nice one, very solid stats to its cost, and also more effects to deal with that indirect damage. And then we got the last one being no disintegrations, being a nice new event which allows you to deal damage to a non-leader unit equal to 1 less than its remaining HP. And considering there's a lot of cards that could potentially do that one extra damage, you can potentially take out anything with this as a combo with any card that can deal with just 1 damage. Now, with Bosk, he's pretty cool in that he's got an effect that is exactly the same in both if he's deployed as a unit or equipped to a vehicle by piloting, which is on attack, you get to exhaust the card you're attacking into the defender and deal 1 damage to it if it's a unit. So it allows you to swing and sling to rest it and then deal 1 damage to it. And this pairs very well with like if you do shoot first, because you'll deal damage before the defender, so you ping a damage plus swing at a higher cost, a slightly higher power, extra 1 power, and do damage for the defender, potentially taking them out before they do damage back. That's pretty nice, but even then, it's still pretty cool to put on a unit, just to go, I'm going to exhaust whatever's attacking, whatever you've got. So if something that's huge that you want to kind of stop them from attacking, you can use Boss to do that. And the nice thing about piloting is that, yeah, you put it down, in this case for Bosk, you pilot it for 2 resources and the cunning and villainy aspects, and then attach it to a vehicle unit as a pilot. And with piloting, you can only have 1 pilot equipped to a unit, so you can only have 1 on it. So if you put Bosk on a vehicle unit, you cannot put any other pilot on that unit. And it makes for some cool things. Like you've got some, as this is only 2 costs, you can do some really nice stuff. Put out a cheap unit turn 1 and increasing stats, like having Kylo's TIE Silencer, which then puts up to a 5/4, which is pretty cool. So you play Kylo's TIE Silencer out turn 1, then Bosk it up, put pilot in Bosk on the unit, decrease it from a 3/2 to a 5/4. You can even do it with other units like 7th Fleet Defender, which is a unit that comes in shielded. Boosting its stats into shielded, it can then start attacking, and also gets the skill from Bosk, also is shielded, and also better stats as well. And even things like Lurking TIE Phantom, where it's normally just a 3 cost 2/2, but if you put a Bosk on it afterwards, it's a little bit stronger at 4/4, which means it's going to be even harder to defeat, since it's got the whole nice effect. It can be captured, damaged, or defeated by enemy units, but then it's stronger and it's even harder, and if it does attack into something, it can rest it and also ping it for a damage as well. You also got Fett's Fire Spray, which pairs very well with Boba Fett, because Remember, with the Boba Fett leader, it's got the whole effect of if you do any non-combat damage, which could be indirect damage or effect damage, it's not by unit attacking, then you get to deal another indirect damage to a player. And Fett's Fire Spray has the effect of when it's played or when it attacks, you can deal 1 indirect damage to a player. And if you control Boba Fett leader as Boba Fett as a unit, upgrade, or leader, then you deal 2 indirect damage instead. Which means if you play or attack with this Fett's Fire Spray, where you have a Boba Fett leader, like say the starter deck one, you're always going to be doing 2 indirect damage, which is very nice for like a cool burn effect. And the nice thing about it is you can also always deploy Boba as an upgrade on Fett's Fire Spray to turn from a 4/4 to an 8/8, which is very strong. And then every time it's attacking, it's essentially doing 10 damage somewhere by doing 2 damage when it swings off from its effect, and then 8 damage to whatever it's attacking into, which is really, really cool. Remember, if your opponent doesn't have any units on board, then you have to really choose their base to do that indirect damage to, which is really nice there. And don't forget, you've also, if you do Cunning as well, you've still got the old Fett's Fire Spray, which also has that benefit of coming in having one played, readying if you have Boba Fett as a leader or a unit. So if you've got Boba Fett as your leader, you can then play it out, it comes in ready, then equip it to Boba Fett because you can deploy then Boba Fett as an upgrade. The same turn you will be able to play Fett's Fire Spray, turning it from a 5/6, which is still pretty strong, that's active and ready attack, into a 9/10 that could potentially end the game with that swing, or at least doing almost a third of the opponent's base damage if they're playing a 30 health base. So that's some really cool stuff that you can still have with this leader. And also, there's the no disintegration. Now, that's a really nice card and pairs well with pretty nice leaders like Vader. If you remember with Vader, Vader is a leader from the first set from the starter deck, so you can even get this version of if you went to any of the conventions or like gameplay demos. And what he allows you to do is pay 1 and tap himself, and then if you played a villainy card this phase, you can deal 1 damage to any unit on the board, and then 1 damage to a base, so mainly your opponent's base. And now that's nice because the thing with no disintegrations is the fact that it's a villainy card, so it's going to trigger Vader, and also it does damage to a non-leader unit equal to 1 lesser remaining HP. So it means disintegrations from turn 3 onwards with Vader. You can take out any unit or any non-leader unit with this combo because you can go no disintegrations to choose a unit your opponent controls, do all as much basic damage to it up to until they got 1 less remaining HP. Then use Vader, then pay an extra 1, tap him, deal that last damage to that unit, and also what damage to their base, making for a very cool combo. So it's a very nice addition to Vader. Not sure if I'd bring it back though. And then you also got Bosk the same, but then Bosk requires a little bit extra work where you need to put a bounty on a card, but if it's a card that already has a bounty on it, you can do no disintegrations to put it down to 1 health, and then Bosk ping it for that last 1 damage to kind of take it out, which is cool. Or if you don't have, it doesn't have a bounty on it already, since Boss doesn't require an energy like Vader, you can do no disintegrations, put damage on to it. You can then equip it with like a cheap upgrade or a free upgrade, or a cheap or free bounty, and then use Boss to ping it, which is really, really cool. So that is the Dark Side deck. Now let's have a look at the Everstar decks. Remember, there are 2. Now for the next of the starter decks, and the other one for the light side, we got Han Solo. That's right, a 3rd Han Solo leader as well, so both Boba and Han getting a 3rd leader, which isn't too bad. But you've got to remember that this is a space focused deck or a vehicle focused deck, and one of the most iconic pilots in Star Wars is Han Solo, pilot of the Millennium Falcon, and he comes with a leader and a pretty cool one at that, and it also features the new upgrade deploy as well, where when you control 5 or more resources, you can choose to deploy either as a leader, as a free 7 with no skills, or deploy as an upgrade on a friendly vehicle without a pilot on it. And for Han Solo, he gives an extra 3 power and 4 health to the unit, and when he's deployed as an upgrade, he can, for each friendly unit or upgrade, as an odd cost, so you focus on the odd number cost of cards, he readies a resource. So that means the minimum he's going to untap is 1, because he is himself an odd numbered unit. So he's a 5 deploy unit, so he counts as a 5, so he will untap a minimum of 1 resource for you. But if you've got more units on, you can deploy more, and there's a really cool deploy turn he can have as well. And then with his other effect that he's got in the leader area is an action by tapping him. You can reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with a unit, and if the reveal card and that unit have different odd costs, you focus on like a deck with a lot of odd cost cards, then that unit gets +1 power for that attack. So you can attack a bit stronger as long as the odds are in your favors. And it goes pretty nicely with the fact that he's got a subtitle of Never Tell Me the Odds, which is cool. Also note that he is a rebel as well, so this is not when he's just like unlike the other ones. With the other Han leaders, they've just been Underworld and I think it's Underworld for Han. But he's never been a rebel, which in this one he is now a rebel. So I don't know if he's from the episode 6. I think it might be him from episode 6. I think because he's not an underworld, he's a rebel in this case. Meaning you get some benefits from those set 1 rebel cards, which is really, really cool. And also he's got the pilot trait as well, because then he becomes a pilot on the unit. So the nice thing is, like I said, he can deploy, when he deploys, he can untap a minimum of 1 resource. But if you've got, say, like a ship like Millennium Falcon here, because an odd cost is so his hand, you can get 2. So as long as you've got something to upgrade him on, and it's a odd number unit, you can get 2, but you need to get a minimum of 1 if you do put on a even numbered vehicle unit. But most of the time you're probably going to get 2 or maybe more depending on what you've got. So it's really cool, and it also nicely powers up the units too. Then for the ever free cards, like I said, we had 3 cards from the Boba Fett starter deck shown, and there are 4, but we didn't get shown all 4. Well, there's supposed to be 5, including leader, but we only saw 4 of the cards being the leader as well, so we're missing just that 1 ever card. But for the other 3 that we got for the Han Solo deck is Chewbacca, because you think if Boss goes with Boba, then Chewbacca goes with Han. And also featuring the new pilot upgrade, and also this one is a very strong card for an upgrade. Well, technically an upgrade for piloting as well. And also you got another copy of Millennium Falcon as well, so also a 3rd Millennium Falcon in the game, so that's really nice. And then an event with from the subtitle of Han Solo, Never Tell Me the Odds, which is pretty cool. So these are pretty nice as well. You got Chewbacca being a 5 cost 5/6 if you play him out as a ground unit, and has the effect where this unit can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. So this is a very good card to go against like those control decks, hard control, or just normal control decks, where they're using effects to just take out your units. This could be a way to combat them, because the only way they can get rid of it is by damaging it or capturing it. They can't really defeat it by effects or return it to hand, which is nice. And then when you pilot for Chewbacca, you pilot it as a 3 cost with the command and heroism traits, and you put on as an upgrade on a friendly vehicle without a pilot. And now also when this card's equipped as an upgrade to a vehicle unit, it gains the same effect where the attached unit can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. Not only that, it also gives it an extra 3/3 to the stat. So this is similar to the lightsabers, where you give for a 3 cost, you give a 3/3 boost and give a nice effect to it. Really cool. And also, once again, Chewbacca is also a rebel, so a rebel just like his leader. Then you got Millennium Falcon, which is a same stat as the original Millennium Falcon card in the game, being a 3 cost 3/4. Also a rebel as well, which it wasn't before, but a rebel vehicle and transport. And he has a nice effect allowing more pilots than you normally have. Because remember, you can only have 1 pilot on a given vehicle. But with this one allows you to play or deploy 1 additional pilot on this unit. And for every unit, this unit gets an extra 1 power for every pilot on it. So the more pilots you put on it, the stronger he gets, and he also gets boosted from those pilots as well. And then you got Never Tell Me the Odds. So this is a 3 cost event, and it allows you to discard 3 cards from your opponent's deck, and also 3 cards from your deck, and deal damage to a unit equal to the number of cards with an odd cost discarded this way. So a very mill focused card, and can do pretty nice damage for some really nice effects. So let's have a look at a little bit more of an in-depth look at these cards. So, like we said, with Millennium Falcon, this is pretty nice because you can put both. You can put 2 pilots on it, because you can do play or deploy an additional pilot on this unit. So, the nice thing about this is you can deploy Han, and you can go for a very nice turn as well, because you can play out Millennium Falcon if you get to 5 resources, and so this is a turn when you can deploy as an upgrade Han as your leader. Then you can pay 3 to play out Millennium Falcon. So he's now on the board. You've got 2 resources left. You can then go ahead and deploy Han Solo as a pilot on the Millennium Falcon. So turning it from a 3/4 to now a 7/4. No, 7/8, sorry. Yeah, 7/8. And then
now you get untap 2 resources because Millennium Falcon's a odd number, Han Solo's odd number, so you can now untap 2 resources, leaving you 4 more to do. And now if you've got Chewbacca on your hand, you can then now attach Chewbacca using the piloting keyword as a additional pilot to Millennium Falcon. So remember, it can have 1 more pilot normal, and then you turn it from being a 7-8 to a 11-11. So having a Millennium Falcon out with 11 power, 11 health, that also has the effect that prevents it from being defeated or bounced back to hand by enemy card abilities, is very strong. Because that's going to hit, once that starts hitting, or even if you put the turn before, that's going to then start hitting quite hard, especially since it's going to hit for 11 damage, which is almost, just over a third of the health of a common base, which is very powerful. So very, very cool. And unless your opponent's got enough, can do enough damage to it, or ram things into it, do enough damage to take it out, then they're not really going to be doing much to kind of defeat this, which is very, very cool. Also, like we said, it's the third of the Millennium Falcons. So we got the original Millennium Falcon, the piece of junk, which is an underworld vehicle and transport unit. Same stats, and display ready, but then has taxes you to keep a resource down to keep it on board. You got the Millennium Falcon for set 2, which was a 6-cost 5/5, which is also a vehicle, underworld and transport, which then gain ambush when you play it from your hand, but this is more Lando's one because it's Lando's prize. This is Lando's Millennium Falcon, and it ambushes if you play it from hand, but you can also smuggle out from your resources for the same cost as you would from hand, but it doesn't gain ambush if you do it from the resources. Then we got this new Millennium Falcon, now changing from not being an underworld, but being a rebel, but still being a transport and vehicle, to basically have more pilots and feature the new mechanic a bit better, which is cool. The nice thing about being Rebel is it's searchable by Rebel things, but also all of them are searchable by commission as well, which can search for a vehicle, bounty hunter, or item card. Also, nice thing about it, since these cards are now like our Rebels, you can use things like Mon Mothma now to kind of search them out, because Mon Mothma is a card 2-cost from set 1, 2-cost 1/3 statted, and when it's played, then it gets to search the top 5 cards of your deck for a Rebel card, reveal it, and draw it to add it to your hand. So that's nice. So you can then use Mon Mothma turn 1 to kind of search for your Millennium Falcon for turn 2, or even Chewbacca, so you got it ready, then equipped to a vehicle you might play out, which is really cool. So having these searchable is going to add some nice additions to keeping the consistency on this deck. Also, like I said with Chewbacca, his piloting skill is basically like a better upgrade, because not like sometimes you have upgrades and they're just stuck in hand because you don't have anything to equip them onto, or nothing that gets the full benefit of that equip. Whereas for upgrades, for like units like Chewbacca, which are also piloting is like a better version of upgrading, because it's still on a unit, so you can still play out the unit normally, or you can play it as an upgrade, so you can play it either one way or another way, but you've got always a way to play it, like no matter what. A nice thing about his piloting skill is the cost and benefits are similar to some of the best upgrades you've got, like the sabers, like you've got the Jedi lightsaber, Fallen lightsaber, and General's blade, which are all 3-cost upgrades that give 3 free boosts, so 3 extra power and 3 extra health to the unit, plus then a benefit if they've got either a certain trait like Force or Jedi. Whereas Chewbacca does the same thing. Basically, you have to pay 3 to equip it as a unit, or equip it as an upgrade to a vehicle. It gives the same kind of boost as 3 power and 3 health, which is very good for that cost, but also gives it a very nice effect where it can be defeated or returned to hand by enemy abilities, which is very, very solid. Makes for probably one of the strongest cards they revealed from the first lot of set 4 stuff. And then also think about it as well, like you've got Sabine, which is a very aggressive deck, normally played in the aspects that Chewbacca's in, along with itself, being a green with ECL, and usually you play out a turn 2 play, and sometimes you play out some space units like Green Squadron A-Wing. This is a unit that is normally like a 1/3, but then has raid 2, so it swings for 3 damage, and is very good aggressive card for Sabine. But now a great play for Sabine with this new set is to play Green Squadron A-Wing out turn 1, have it on board in space, and next turn, pay 3, equip Chewbacca to it, turning it now to a 4/6 that hits for 6. And that's a lot of damage. That's a big timer now, because your opponent's got to deal with that. Plus, in the turn after, you can deploy Sabine and do other things with 4 resources. So your opponent's got to try and deal with this Green Squadron, which is now a lot bigger, like 6 health, which is a lot harder to take out. Can't be defeated by effects. Your opponent can't just use effects to take out, they have to do damage, and can't be bounced to hands either. So unless you can keep it tapped down or capturing it, it's going to be harder to take down, and it just provides more good support to Sabine, which is very nice. well, nice depending on how you feel about Sabine. And then we've got some like nice things as well. Because remember, like you got space units, you got vehicle units in both space and ground, and Chewbacca piloting them to make him a lot better and a lot nicer. Like Home One being a very good, like big vehicle unit, which is in space. Normally comes down to 877, giving itself having restore on itself, giving restore to every unit you control, and also playing out for at the cost of 3 less a heroic unit from your discard pile. Now you can't unfortunately use Home 1 to then bring out Chewbacca and equip it to Home 1 because it plays the card as normal, not by its piloting skill. But you can do it after, then turn it from 8 cost 7/7 to 8 cost 10/10, which is then healing and then hard to remove because you can't defeat it, you can't bounce it, so you only damage it, and with 10/10 to its stats, it's going to be a lot harder to do that than a smaller unit. And then you've got things like Reinforcement Walker. Reinforcement Walker has been something that's been a big, strong unit throughout the game's life so far, and is one that kind of gets nice benefits. And also, if it survives a turn, which it most likely does, then you can put Chewbacca on it after to turn it from a 6/9, which is still pretty solid stats, very good bulk and decent power, to then now a 9/12, so even harder to remove at 12 health, and hitting even harder at 9 power. Plus, then Chewbacca makes it so it can't be defeated or bounce back the hand. So it'll be even harder to remove whilst hitting hard, and also either gaining you more cards or healing you damage as well with its wings, which is really, really strong. And that brings us to some like the nice benefits with Chewbacca, because Chewbacca is probably the main thing I look at when I see Chewbacca is not just piloting, which is a very, very strong skill and a very strong effect that he provides, but more that he's a good card to help combat those high control decks, which you've seen currently for set 3 for the beginning, are doing pretty well, because it's a card that just, even when you play it as a unit or equipped to a vehicle, that unit or himself can't be defeated by effects or bounce, which is one of the main ways high control decks kind of want to deal with cards. So things like Waylay can't just bounce back to whatever Chewbacca's on, back to hand to kind of lose Chewbacca, or Chewbacca back to your hand himself. Can't use like things like Rival's Fault just into defeat, or Super Laser Blast if you did that, wipe everything except Chewbacca or whatever Chewbacca's equipped to. So a very nice way to counter that kind of deck. And then for the last card, because we've gone talk about a lot about Chewbacca and the Falcon, well, a little bit of Falcon because we've seen like, probably the best example for it. But then Never Tell Me the Odds is a pretty nice card, which is more going to be focused on its mill capacity than its damage. Because if you think about it, the damage is very situational, because it depends on what is milled from your opponent and your deck, and depends on odd numbers. So if your opponent's got no odd numbers, or very few odd numbers, or you don't hit many, or you say you don't hit many from yours, you're going to be doing very amounts of damage. You're not really going to focus on the damage, it's going to be more the mill focus. And also, if you were to focus on damage, you've got things like Open Fire, which can guarantee 4 damage for the same cost, but is in red. And you've got other kind of effects that do a certain amount of damage for a certain kind of cost, which are more guaranteed than Never Tell Me Odd, which is more like gambling, since it's a gambit. But if you want to focus it more on a mill card, it could be a way to kind of give mill more of an option. Now, mill in this game isn't an alternative win like it is in any other game, but it is a way to kind of like still trying to win the game, because once your opponent's decked out and can't draw more cards, they start taking damage for every card they can't draw, being 3 cards. Well, 3 damage side for every card they can't draw. And if you can't draw both the cards for the end of the set when they go to draw, that's 6 damage. So it'll take only 5 turns after decking them out to win the game. So we can do more of a mill deck now, because you now have like Never Tell Me the Odds as a way to mill cards from your opponent's deck, Vigilance as a way, and also Satine as a way to make almost any unit start milling cards as well, which is cool. So maybe there's the kind of beginnings of a mill deck with the set 4, but we'll have to wait and see what else we get. So that's the starter decks. Now we're going to have a look and see what we've got from the actual main deck, because we'll have some stuff, well, not main deck, from the main set 4, Jump the Lightspeed, because we've seen some cards from that as well. So with the actual Jump the Lightspeed set, we've seen the first leader from it, also incorporating a new deploy, and that is Azaj Ventress. So she got a leader in the current set 3. Now she's got another one in a different aspect in set 4. And it's nice that at least when they do new leaders for sets, well, most of the time, because I've just remembered that the hand is also in the same aspects as the first hand, but they try to put them in different aspects, which is really cool. So at least when they do these, most of the time they get switched over, but sometimes they do them in the same one. Then for Asajj, if you've got them in blue now, and she got some new traits that I don't think she had on the first one now, because she's got Force, Knight now. She's also got the Knight trait, and Bounty Hunter and Pilot. So she's a new Bounty Hunter leader, Knight leader, Force leader, and also has the Pilot trait. And she's one that deploys at 6 resources, which is pretty cool. And comes down as a pilot, so it either comes down as a 4/6 if you deploy as a unit, and also comes down with grit, or you can upgrade. Deploy as an upgrade on a space unit. Sorry, not a space unit, I keep saying space, but a vehicle unit, and giving it an extra 3/4 to its stats, which is still pretty decent. Also gaining additional effect. So while she's in the lead area, she's got a pretty nice effect where you can tap her to deal 1 damage to a friendly unit, and if you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. So she's got a nice effect to kind of make use of the grit units, or even units that if they like require damage or anything on them, which is pretty interesting. But more focused on crit, because you do damage to your unit, which if it's got grit, it then gets even stronger, so it's more powerful, and also do damage to your opponent's units closer to taking them out. Now that's pretty cool, but the thing is, if you're doing damage to your units, then they're closer to being basically defeated. So if you're damaging your units to power them up, you can then potentially have your opponent just attack into whatever you damage anyway, before you even get to use it to attack for more power. But then when you deploy her, so if you deploy it as a normal unit, she's in a 4/6 with grit, which is not too bad. And that's it. They've got no other effect, just grit. But if you deploy it as an upgrade on a vehicle unit, that unit also gains grit, so they can get more powerful the more it's attacked, and the more damage it takes, and also keep the effect that she had, but now on attack. Where on attack you deal damage to a friendly unit, could be yourself, could be one of your other units, and if you do, because remember it's just say another friendly unit, just a friendly unit, so you can even do it to whatever unit she's equipped to, and they'll deal damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. So it's got to be the same arena, so you can't just do it cross arenas, which is interesting, but at least in the same arena. So if you're doing it remember, because vehicles come in both the ground and in space, so you potentially have it still deploy it in the ground arena on a ground vehicle, or put it in space, which is out of reach a little bit more from the ground stuff, and then have that nice effect to kind of power herself up with the grit, or also dealing damage, potentially like doing that last bit of damage you need to finish something off, or even pinging shields off things and just attacking, which is cool. So it's a pretty interesting leader. But we need to see more stuff in the set. Can't see whatever benefits we get, but you can also look to see what kind of grit cards we've got. But she seems like a pretty nice leader. And not only that, we also got 4 other cards from this set. So the first one we've got is Tandem Assault, and this is one of those ones which is essentially just like some of the other. We've seen this effect multiple times in the game. It's an effect that allows you to attack for more, or do more attacks in less actions. Meaning you can attack two times in 1 action, which is very good. But each time we've had effects like this, they've either been on a trait or been a different kind of way. Like we've seen things like in the Sur set, Rebel Assault being a way you can attack with 2 rebel units, one after the other, and they gain a boost on their attack. We've had another one where you can just attack with 2 units, and that's it. Just attack with 2 units, attack with one unit, attack with another one after. We've had it with other traits and other things that allow you to attack in this kind of way. But for this one, it's the same kind of cost as most of those other ones, a 1-cost event. But this one focuses on both arenas, because it allows you to attack with a space unit. And then if you do attack with a space unit, you then get attack with a ground unit. And then that ground unit gets an extra +1 for that attack. The nice thing is, there are some space units. There's an event and a space unit which allows you to break the rules and cross barriers in different arenas. So you can actually use that together to take out something in the ground arena. The space unit can bypass the arena barrier, and then attack with the ground unit, the same one, which is cool. Or you can just do, basically just on any area of combo. But the nice thing you can do potentially is you Green Squadron A-Wing, where you can have this out turn 1. The next thing you can play Fleet Lieutenant, so attack with Green Squadron A-Wing at higher power, giving an extra 2 power for that attack, so the Rebel, and also got Raid 2, so swing for 5. Then the turn after, go Tandem Unit, then attack with the Green Squadron A-Wing, and then with Fleet Lieutenant at a higher power, so then you do an extra 8 damage after that. But then if you're still doing, the thing is, in this example, which is the best one I could think of, you might as well go for Rebel Assault, because you do the same thing, but same thing for same power, because you give them both units that are rebels, since they are both rebels, extra 1 power for their attacks as well. So you're not doing much different than a card already there. So this is a pretty nice card. But like I said, we've seen multiple iterations in different ways for this kind of card, of this effect, and it isn't that interesting. Next, we've got Death Space Skirmisher, which is pretty cool, and it's one of those ones. It's like like a little bit of easier to use cartel spacer with slightly better stats because it's a free cost. So it's one more expensive than cartel spacer, which is a 2 cost, which is a free. And it's got free feature stats. It's got the same amount of health as cartel spacer, but does 1 more power. And it's got just one played. If you control another space unit, you can exhaust the unit. And this is a card you can play as early as turn 2, and you have some loads of good space units you can put down turn 1. Like, say, for example, we got here, like Restored Arc. We got Green Squadron A-Wing, and we got Mercenary Gunship being units you can put down turn 1 in space. And then next turn, especially if you've got initiative, play out the Death Space Skirmisher, rest whatever unit they played in their turn 1, and then attack with your space unit. And then you got these 2 strong space units out. It's pretty good there. Not the most impressive, but still a pretty decent unit. We also got known Zygarian Starhopper, and this is a pretty nice unit. Pretty good one for the heroics. Like probably a better unit to play turn 1 than Cartel Spacer because you want to get use out of Cartel Spacer. And Cartel Spacer doesn't get much use playing the first turn because all you do is play it as a same as Zygarian Space Hopper, a 2 cost, 2 free, but you don't get the effect. Whereas Zygarian Space Hopper doesn't have effect that really matters too much, but when it's defeated, it deals 2 indirect damage to a player, meaning they assign 2 unpreventable damage among their base and units. So basically, when defeated, it does 2 damage that can't be stopped to either your opponent's base or their units, however they choose. But it's a nice unit because it's a 2 cost, 2 free unit, so it's a nice one to play turn 1 in space. And also it's got nice benefits because it's an underworld unit, so with Cad Bane, it triggers his ping, which is cool. So it's another unit you can play in space now. Didn't trigger the ping without wasting a cartel spacer. And also it means you've got something you can play turn 1, and then cartel spacer can play turn 2 onwards to then do its nice effect, like playing out wrestling 4 or less to kind of stop your opponent from doing anything with that unit they play from turn 1. And then same with Death Space Skirmisher, be able to tap things down because you got this turn 1, which is pretty cool. You also got Hunting Aggressor, which is a way to like kind of increase the new mechanic of indirect damage because it's a 4 cost, 3/6, which is pretty solid stats. Because if you think about it, that's the same as Bright Hope, just 1 more power, just with a different effect. Same cost, same health, just 1 more power. And this one allows you to, well, this one basically once on board has a continuous effect of increasing, well, indirect damage you deal to opponents is increased by 1. And there are a few cards that we've already seen so far that deal indirect damage, like Boba Fett Leader. When you deal non-combat damage, deals indirect damage by 1 to your opponent, which in this case would increase to 2. You've got Fett's Fire Spray, which at a minimum, if you don't have Boba as a leader or a unit or an upgrade, you deal 1 damage, making this increase to 2. Or it deals 2 damage if you've got Boba Fett, meaning that you'll do 3 indirect damage with Boba Fett's leader with this on the board as well. And then you've even got Zygarian Starhopper, which is if down on turns before, and then you get this out before it's defeated. When it's defeated, it does 3 indirect damage instead of just 2, which is nice. Increase that, make more in that indirect damage, because indirect damage seems like it could be pretty cool if you can make a deck out of that basic focus. That's like a nice cool burn deck. And then that brings us to the last of the kind of cards from the set as well. And those are the new tokens, because in like the last 3 sets, we've only got 2 tokens each. In the first set, we just got the experience, like 1 kind of different art of the experience tokens, token upgrades, and the shield token upgrades. Then set 2, we got different arts of those 2 same upgrades, being experience and shield. Then set 3, so the last set we're currently on, we got token units instead of token upgrades. So we got like the Clone Trooper token unit, and we got the the droid unit kind of token unit. So, but this one for this set we get 4 tokens. So we get back the experience and shield for the set. Plus we also still get token units, but this time we get space ones since we're focusing on space in this set. So we get the TIE Fighter as our dark side token unit, being a 1/1 unit, just like how the droids are 1/1s. And then we got the X-Wings, which are the token units for the good side, being 2/2s, and they're just vehicles and fighters. So they got no traits like Imperial or Rebel or Resistance or anything. They just got vehicle and fighter, which is cool. And we got new arts of the experience and shield tokens, which are pretty nice. Like I think I'm just gonna try and get every time we get a experience and shield token, just different arts, just to have all of them from like a token. Since you need to have a lot of these tokens, because remember you shouldn't have them just for yourself if you don't play them, but if your opponent's playing, to have ones that affect you if they're using on you. So that is all this stuff from Yeah, all the stuff from set 4 so far. We've seen the first lot of them, so we've seen all the, like a lot of the stuff from the start deck, a little bit from like a little bit of sneak peek from set 4. But also do remember as well that there are ways to kind of deal with these new mechanics of upgrading. Like because remember with these things, like deploying as an upgrade, you're deploying as an upgrade on units. You still an upgrade on it, even though it doesn't say upgrade on the card. And you've got other cards that upgrade as well. And there are ways to sort of take out these upgrades. And you've got things like Disabling Fangfire, Poe Dameron, and Confiscate is like the main ways to just instantly take off one, like with Disabling Fangfire and Confiscate being units that you just use and then defeat a unit, like Disabling Fangfire. You play out a unit, so you get a unit on board, and also get to take an upgrade, so knock off like the upgrade of your leader's upgrade on a unit, so it goes back to the leader area. Or even Confiscate being a very cheap event you can use to just knock off upgrades, which would be good. And you got Poe Dameron being one that's been used in things like Sabina stuff, and one of its effects when it attacks is to defeat an upgrade. So it's another way to kind of put make use of ECL to attack straight into a unit, and then knock an upgrade off of it, so it's weaker, and then it's less to deal with, like a little bit easier to deal with, which is pretty cool. So those are ways to kind of just take them out. So those you've got to think that we've already got. That can be a way to kind of dismantle. They're not like be all end all ways to try and take them off, but cards that can increase in popularity or usefulness to deal with units. Like I've already been using things like Ting Fangfire, and Confiscate was even used back in set 2 because we had things like Dark Saber and what's it called, the Boba's Armor. They want to knock off units that were very powerful and it were meant these cards were used more often to kind of deal with those pesky upgrades. And same could be seen with set 4. You also got other ways to kind of mess with upgrades as well, because one thing you got to remember is if you got like Chewbacca on a unit, you can't really do anything about that. You can't like defeat the unit, but sometimes there's a way to kind of deal with them. Like you got like Survivor's Gauntlet being a nice space unit that can then move around those leaders onto different ones. So you can move it off of a different space unit you've got onto Survivor's Gauntlet instead. Because when it's played on attack, you can attach an upgrade on a unit to another eligible unit controlled by the same player. So if you've got your leader on one unit and it's close to dying, you can then play a Survivor's Gauntlet, move it off that unit onto Survivor's Gauntlet, so that's fresh. The boosts still pass over, and the Everspace unit is then either there to be defeated or then defeated, and not have to worry about losing your leader or whatever upgrade you put on it. Move it around, which is cool. And you can also do that with your opponent by moving their upgraded leader off one unit to another unit that's as long as it's eligible, to kind of move it away for something that's stronger, something weaker, so you can then potentially take out something that's rested, so you don't have to worry about it too much. And then you even got Bamboozle, and this is one that kind of can get rid of those upgrades and never kind of removal, and also can be played for free as well, and more focused to the cunning, not just the light side, because even if it's a light side card, you can still play it in the dark side or a different one as long as you've got cunning as the aspect, because it's got that kind of alternative way to pay a cost by discarding a cunning card instead of paying its cost to play it. And it's one that just exhausts a unit and return each upgrade onto its owner's hand. So if you do it on a unit and you've got the leader unit on it, that leader go back to the leader area because it can't go back to hand, and it basically is off the unit, and that unit is exhausted as well. So you've got some nice ways to kind of deal with these potential new mechanics coming out. So they're not going to come out and then be all like people are probably looking like any set that comes out, any new mechanic, people look at them and go, oh, that's going to be bossy, that's going to be broken, that's broken. They use the word broken a lot of the time. And while some things might be strong, there are ways to deal with it. Nothing can't be dealt with. There are always ways to deal with something or to combat something. You just want to find the way rather than just saying, yeah, it's broken. And also remember that you might be thinking like you can't really defeat like Chewbacca. Makes it a lot harder for like with any of the upgrades. You can just take him out, like take out the unit, it's gone. But then if you got Chewbacca on a lead, you might be thinking, well, how can I deal with this? I can't defeat the unit while Chewbacca's on a unit or out. You can't defeat it by effects. You can't bounce it back the hand. And you have to do damage to it, but you don't always have to just do damage to it. Because remember, set 2 introduced a new mechanic in terms of new at the time, older now in terms of capturing. And Chewbacca can only not be dealt with by removal and bouncing effects. So it can still be dealt with by capture. So you've got to capture Chewbacca, and you've got ways that you've got Jabba as a way to just when you deploy is you make one of your friendly units capture an enemy non-leader unit. Now, since Chewbacca's not a leader, you can just capture it, take it away, and then the upgraded drop off, or if it's Chewbacca unit, take it out of the way. So it's basically out of the way of your opponent, but more like take it off when it's on upgraded on a unit, take it away. And even like Cad Bane, the new Cad Bane for set 3, come down, capture whatever Chewbacca is attached to, as long as it's within the range of what it can capture, and then the Chewbacca drops off, you capture the unit it was on, and then even like Relentless Pursuit. If the most of the time when Chewbacca is used, it's going to be used on a cheaper unit to do it, and since the unit's going to still have its cost, it's not going to gain the cost from Chewbacca. You can then capture the unit Chewbacca's on, and the Chewbacca drop off because you don't take the upgrade on it as well. So there are different ways to kind of deal with it. So don't remember, even though these guys are cool new mechanics and look quite strong, there are still ways to deal with them even from now, rather than cards in the same set as well. So that is it for today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. And that is the first lot of reveals. We'll see what we get next. And it seems like for reveal season is going to be started, or it's going to be starting. Like we got a sneak peek now, but still we have ages to go until like February or March. I can't remember which month it is, or if it's the beginning or end of either of them. That we need to will eventually get set 4. And even now, set 3 hasn't been out that long. We might as well enjoy it, and we've got plenty of time to enjoy it this month, and also the plans for qualifiers when they start in January as well. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
Like a boss.